Hello everybody, once again. In this video I'm going to discuss what's going on with the aftermath of Helena, the hurricane, particularly as it relates to North Carolina. North Carolina, around the Asheville area, is getting most of the press. And there is a lot of press. There's a lot of conflicting press, a lot of conflicting ideas as to what's actually taking place down there. And I think it's very telling, in a manner of speaking, of and indicative of exactly what's going on in the country, in the so-called leadership at large, and as it relates to the country as a whole. And I will just simply say that there's going to be differences of opinion. There's differences of agenda. And I also want to say that if there is any abuse of agenda in regards to what's going on in this situation, regardless of who it is, this is not the time to be, actually no time is, but for you to push anything that isn't true for the sake of your agenda is really, we just dropped a new blanket with this particular mountain scene on it. And we're really excited about beginning to bring out some of these products. This here is from the Colorado mountains, right off of Route 40 between Denver and Showboat. I took it last summer, I believe it was. And we're going to start bringing out a bunch of blankets with photographs on them that, as you can see, will be this here's crushed velvet. And it'll be really nice to cozy up in as you're watching a program or a show. Of course, we also have our coffee mugs and our clocks and coasters and cutting boards, our crossword puzzles, and a few other items that could possibly make you some nice accents in your home, be useful, or be able to be given as gifts. The other thing that I do want to mention real quick before we get rolling is that don't forget to like and subscribe as we go through different programs on freedom and survival. I'm Tim Wright, and what we do here on Freedom and Survival is we talk about self-sustainment. We also do analytics and talk about current events and political analysis from time to time. And right now we're going to talk about this whole thing going on with Helena and the stuff going on down there. Now, I don't know if you all are familiar with what's happening. We're just going to hit it. And I do ask the question to you by the time we get through with this, and you can answer it for yourself. Is in fact the American government creating or committing treason? And there's a specific reason why I asked that question. And no, I didn't say they're traitors. I asked the question, are they committing treason? And normally we think of treason as if somebody is spying, they're involved in espionage, or they walk across from one front line of a war zone to another and change sides and give away secrets that would be of national security level. Such things like running guns to terrorists and cartels south of the border. Things on that level, or maybe things like taking top secret things of national security and only top secret people with those top secret clearances and or above would have privy to, and bringing those into your own home and opening the gate key for the highest bidder on all of that stuff. Things like that would be considered treason, and as well as the perpetrator would be considered a traitor, or possibly things like selling things like missiles and arms and war machines and equipment and top secret hardware and software and radar type of equipment to your enemy. And then when it's being found out, causing a hit and an overrun on an embassy and causing and hiring a hit on an ambassador of the United States of America. Things like that are treason. The people behind that are traitors. And so the question is that as we take a look at this thing going on with Helena and the aftermath of it, is there treason going on? And I do think it's a fair question to be asked. And unfortunately, we are asking this and hoping that it's not distracting from the relief efforts and the recovery efforts of those that were devastated by the hurricane. Now, there are one of the aspects that has come out in X, formerly known as Twitter, Rumble, and different venues, is that the possibility of certain entities or agencies basically steering this particular hurricane when it was in fact heading back out to the ocean. In doing so, have created other questions based on what is actually in the vicinity of Ashland, North Carolina. And one of those things which is tied to the question of is there treason involved is that one of the world's largest deposits of lithium reside in that area, and there are communities sitting over top of those deposits. Now, I personally can't say unequivocally, because I haven't looked at the data, that HARP has been involved in steering these things, but I can tell you, as a matter of fact, from a scientific point of view, both in seeding for rain and in manipulating air movement via radio waves and frequencies and things like that, that is completely possible. We started experimenting with this right after World War II. We actually used these methods in the Vietnam War, and since then, both the United States and Russia and China have been back and forth with these types of things as far as using them as weaponry. This is a known thing. So, you can call it conspiracy all you want to. You just keep burying your head in the sand. That'll be all right, because when stuff comes rolling over, it'll be your rear end that gets knocked off. This stuff is well known these days, and it is no longer conspiracy. The conspiracies back then, just like 99% of everything else that people say are conspiracies, has now come to the forefront as not only true, but miles and miles and miles down the road as far as advancements in technology in application. It's kind of like uranium-1, when I had friends on the ham radios who were actually monitoring what was going out there in Oregon with Lavoy Finnegan when he was mowed down in the snow because of uranium-1, when another said person actually who is involved in all these other mentioning events of treason and being a traitor was involved in the desire of selling the uranium deposits that actually foot for foot mimicked the perimeter of the so-called bird refuge managed by the BLM. And so and come to find out, there was military checkpoints. This was all listened to on ham radio from people on the ground. There was military checkpoints, and lo and behold, uh, Hillary herself was at the top of selling uranium to the Russians. Don't you know? Russian collusion would, when it comes to military grade uranium, would be in fact at least not even construed, but understood as treason. So, if there is any involvement in actually steering not only that hurricane, but now Milton into areas for the sake of lithium deposits, of which BlackRock, which is owned by the same company that Vanguard and something or other Street is owned, and they have a contract, the single contract in the country for the military industrial complex for lithium. It would stand to reason that these questions are in fact legitimate. But I want to focus for just a moment on why this might be actually another legitimate question, or this question might be legitimate for another reason, and that is how things are being handled on the street right in the middle of the recovery process itself. So let's take a look at some of the things that are going on out there. Let's just see for a moment what can be pulled up online. And if you go online and take a look, the first thing that hit me is that, and I couldn't find the actual interview, but Elon Musk claims FEMA blockaded his stopping him from delivering aid to Hurricane Helena victims. Now, here we see, if you read, Elon Musk has lashed out at the FEMA emergency agency for preventing SpaceX from taking relief packages to hurricane-ravaged North Carolina. The billionaire describes FEMA's actions as unconscionable in a furious statement to social media platform X on Friday. Entire towns in western North Carolina were washed away last week when hurricane through the region. Now, I listened to one of his videos on X. He himself was saying that they would not let his helicopters land for one specific reason, and this was the FAA. So not only do we bring into question FEMA, but we bring into question FAA. They would not give multiple helicopters clearance to land because they did not have an address or a targeted audience to land. Well, how are you going to have an address if it's washed 5 miles, 10 miles down the mountain? That was his argument. There is no address. The whole mountain range is washed out. And so the FAA refused to give his private helicopters clearance to come in and land. All they could do was come around the mountains and hover. At least 222 people are dead, hundreds more missing across the United States following the Category 4 storm. So far, 106 of the casualties have been recorded in North Carolina. SpaceX engineers are trying to deliver Starlink terminals and supplies to devastated areas in North Carolina right now, he says. Why? So that you can get communication in and out of there. All the cell towers are demolished. All the phone lines are down. All of the internet is down, and nobody can communicate in or out. Apart from radio towers on mountain peaks and relay stations for amateur radio, nobody's communicating with anybody unless you got satellite and they actually allow you entrance into a satellite gate. So that's one aspect. And here we say FEMA is both failing to help and won't support and won't let others help. They won't let others help. This is not the only account that I have heard this from. And we're going to get into this in just a moment. FEMA won't let them land to deliver critical supplies. My blood is boiling. The federal government's disaster response agency has been painfully slow to deploy first responders. to help Hurricane Helena victims and making things worse on the ground, multiple whistleblowers told the Daily Mail. Of course, we have to be careful who we listen to. There are those on the ground that say FEMA's just flat not here. And then you have, of course, the government pundits like Politico who says none of this is true. Well, I'm going to tell you right now, I'll pose you the question. Who are you going to believe? Are you going to believe Politico, a left-wing, and I'll just say it flat out because of who we're talking about, a radical left-wing government pundit puppet? Or are we going to believe reports on the ground? And that would include reports from law enforcement officers. Why would a law enforcement officer come on social media and claim things and jeopardize losing his job in the middle of a disaster? But yet, mainstream media and pundits like Politico and their ilk are going to come in and somehow fact check and say these people in the middle of it aren't telling the truth. Musk's post was inundated with people saying it was disgusting and residents were being denied aid. This is unforgivable, said one person. I'm going to tell you right now. Well, no, I'm not going to, not right yet. FEMA has boasted and promoted select volunteer organizations throughout the disaster response, urging anyone impacted by the hurricane to reach out to the American Red Cross, who has more than 150 trained disaster workers on the ground. Nobody's seen them. Musk alleged allegations of FEMA wouldn't allow his crew to provide Starlink came just days after the organization revealed it had distributed over 60 Starlink units to multiple states in support of Hurricane Helena response efforts. In a statement, FEMA said that included 40 units to North Carolina and more on the way. Well, they also said that they delivered 30 generator sets. That's cool. 30 generator sets for what square mileage of in how many communities and how many families. And not to say that they haven't done anything, because one person did report that they met up with FEMA, and it was in Asheville area, and it was one communication truck and a folding table. And they were out of the way where nobody could see them. You might know who I'm talking about. Others have reported that FEMA is, while the United States government is funneling millions and billions of dollars over to the Ukraine as we speak, FEMA has flat out said that they are low on staff and low on money because they're being stretched thin at the border with migrants. They didn't say illegal migrants, they said migrants. This is where committing treason comes into play. And let me just go and spin off from there. Say, Tim, why would you say that that has anything to do with treason? Because treason, at its bare bones definition, does not regard the national security of its sovereign citizens, that is, citizens that are American citizens, and it aids and embeds enemies, foreign and domestic, whether in war or outside of our borders or inside of our borders. Now, when you couple that definition with not only aiding and embedding and stretching thin your assets to aid illegal immigrants that never should come across a border, except like my grandfather did through Ellis Island, and they become immigrants legally and American citizens, yay, that's awesome. I will say that I strongly believe that this is treason because they're handing these people all of the housing, all of the money, all of the cell phones, all of the clothing, all of the shelter, all of the food, and everything else that they can throw at them. And they're coming back into this area here in North Carolina, Georgia, Tennessee, and in the southern parts of West Virginia, and saying, you get $750. And as I'm going to show you on here, one lady said they're in the middle of it, got nowhere to go, nothing to have, and FEMA won't even give them that. So I ask you again, is this treason? I say it is. And I'll tell you what, and I've also got reports that they did in fact attempt to, and they did stop convoys of supplies, even though the pundits, the government pundits, say that is not the case. They stopped supplies, they took supplies, gave them to the migrants, and then the local law enforcement agencies had to escort the other supply chains and convoys that were coming into the area. And just so we're clear, there's video of it. So how Biden and Kamala and Bree something, the lady running FEMA, can deny it is beyond me. They're all a lying bunch of thieves. And folks, I don't know how much more of this we can take. Let's go on, continue this. Let's see what else we can drum up here. Fact checked. No FEMA or other Helen responders confiscated supplies. That's a flat out lie. I don't know who is fact checking what. This is Politica Fact Inc., of course. And guess where this WRAL News is getting their information? From Politico, PolitiFact. Oh, the same people that do the fact checking for Facebook. Well, that's got to be legitimate. What a bunch of liars. They're a bunch of communist losers. Okay, so that is from PolitiFact. Let's get rid of that. We're going to get rid of Elon here. And folks, all you have to do is Google this. In this case, we have from Reuters. Hurricane Helena exposes FEMA assistance gap in the Appalachian area. 1 in 200 homes in flood-hit areas had insurance. Federal flood program doesn't consider rain as a risk. Rain, aka hurricane. Global warming is likely to spur this. So that's what the summary they get out of all this. As residents of Western North Carolina piece together their lives following Hurricane Helena, few will be able to rely on federal flood insurance to help them rebuild. Roughly 1 in 200 families in the region covered by the National Flood Insurance, according to a Reuters analysis of federal government data, far lower level of coverage than can be found in coastal and riverside neighborhoods that the program is designed to serve. That is because the federal program is focused on flood risk posed only by rising seas, swelling rivers. Well, that's what they had. Not the threat posed by sorts of extreme rainfall brought on by Helena, which caused swelling rivers. The storm dumped more than 35 centimeters or 14 inches of rain over 3 days onto western North Carolina, transforming mountainsides into mudslides and creeks into torrents. They're not just creeks. There's rivers running down through those gorges. All right down through 26 and 40 is there's rivers. It's horrendous, said Aaron Smith, who said he was trying to figure out where to take his family after his home in the hamlet of Bat Cave was destroyed. I don't see anything to go back to. Here you can see some of the devastation in this home here. FEMA should update its map and reflect the risk, she said, whoever this is. 22 survey by Fannie Mae found that 37% of residents living in a floodplain knew they faced high flood risks. Residents affected by Helena who do not have flood coverage will be able to apply for up to $30,000 in federal disaster aid. Well, in this economy, $30,000 won't even buy them an automobile. So the gap that Rudders is talking about isn't even on the gap or area of, is this treason? What they are looking at is just the fact that their data that they're operating on is way outdated. I don't think I want to deal with that. Here's politic effect again. Okay, now here's a good one. We need to go over this a little bit, and you can look at this for yourself. For PolitiFact, the fact checkers of Facebook, FEMA blocked a runway at South Carolina Airport, halting hurricane relief victims. And then they'll say this: no, that is false. FEMA did not block hurricane relief flights at Southern Carolina airports. As a matter of fact, PolitiFact in this case is correct. But here's why. FEMA didn't block it. They attempted to. And guess why they didn't block it? Because those runways were private airport runways, and they were being run by guess who? Veteran Special Forces. Veterans of Special Forces. And those veterans of Special Forces told them, we have military birds landing in 10 minutes, in 30 minutes, in 1 hour, and you've got 5 minutes to get off my land. That's why PolitiFact can say, no, FEMA did not block hurricane relief flights. All you have to do is go digging and you'll find out what I'm telling you is true. So once again, FEMA, who is trying to put all their money over into illegal immigrants south of the border, tried to block incoming relief efforts and got run out by hoorah. I love it. As far as I'm concerned, to be frankly honest, they need to disband FEMA. The money needs to stop from FEMA right now, or go into FEMA right now. The FAA head needs to be fired and thrown into prison, and they all need to be thrown into prison for treason, because they're more concerned about taking care of people that are not our citizens than our own citizens. And not securing the border, as a matter of fact, making it as open as a raging river, of which FEMA and the federal government decided they don't want to cover anyways. They would rather cover an open border. And I'm not all for closed borders, but I'm going to tell you right now, I'm not for open borders when it comes to all kinds of riffraff and terrorists coming across our borders. And then that doesn't include all the human trafficking that our government's involved in, which is a whole nother ballgame that we got into in other videos. But to be frankly honest, they'll use this to hide the other. Organizers of the runway relief project staged at South Carolina's Greenville downtown airport collected donation supplies and arranged flights to distribute the donations to North Carolina's hurricane victims. The group halted delivery flights October 4th and stopped accepting donations because it received more than needed for now, organizers said. Now PolitiFact is lying through their teeth. FEMA had nothing to do with that decision. That is incorrect. FEMA tried to come in and shut down the airports, and Special Forces veterans told them to get out of Dodge. Flat told them, get out of our face. I hope this is indicative of I really hope this is indicative of what's to come when said traitors and treasonous people try to pull more junk. And then there's another one. FEMA has flown in 10 or more helicopters and blocked a runway here in Greenville downtown completely. Took over, or almost took over the operation. A man in an Instagram video said, just because they're doing some good here, FEMA is going to try to come in and stop it. Well, they did that on the highways. They did that on the highways. One caravan stopped. The rest of them said, screw you, get out of our way. And then there were those who were escorted by local sheriff departments. I really, here we go. PolitiFact says, and these posts were flagged by part of Meta's efforts. Is that right? You don't say. Am I going to trust Meta? Am I going to trust PolitiFact, the fact checkers of Facebook and YouTube, over people on the street? I don't think so. So let's go here to X and just see what we got. And in this van right here, come on now. Let's see what this guy's got to say.
Supplies. So, yeah, we got to...
Let's see what he's got to say. Come on, play.
What's going on, everybody? So I am in Asheville, North Carolina. We are walking door to door, checking on people, asking them if they need any supplies, passing out food, supplies. So, yeah, we got to stick together. We got to help out our American brothers and sisters, our next door neighbors. We got to take care of home. And America's home. No matter what city you live in, if there's people in another city who needs help, if you are able to help, then please do that. But we are out here helping out.
Okay.
What's going on, everybody?
Let's find another one. Now, here's some people talking about what's going on with FEMA in Greensboro, North Carolina. 800 beds in the Greensboro available. U.S. government has $50 million lease and is currently unoccupied, while the center is waiting to house apprehended illegals. Maybe you could take care of our own Western North Carolinians first. So there is an issue with that, and not that that is incorrect, but the fact of the matter is, Greenville, North Carolina is in fact a little ways away from Asheville. Go ahead and Google it. So is it actually feasible to house people in Greenville when they need to be recovering and restoring their community an hour and a half away? Maybe not. So I'm really not sure that is, while I don't agree with a $50 million facility to facilitate illegal immigrants, I certainly do not. I think that is, and it's being unoccupied. I don't think that is really a wise use of Americans' tax dollars. As a matter of fact, I would say it is misuse. But I'm not so sure it's fair to just say, hey, look, FEMA, ship people there from here. I don't think that's necessarily fair either. But I think what they could do is take their $50 million and quit wasting it. Then maybe they'd have a little more money than $750 per person to give to people in Asheville, North Carolina, and across the region of eastern Tennessee, southern West Virginia, North Carolina, and Georgia. And as a matter of fact, they can just pull all that money back from, the federal government can pull all that money back from the Ukraine as well and quit using Ukraine to launder money. Here we have a post on X saying still no U.S. government FEMA helicopters in the air in Asheville, North Carolina. This is real time. Watch it for yourself. So here is the link for the flight tracker. And they're saying there's no FEMA flights coming in and out. And the only thing you could say is FEMA is enabling human trafficking, possibly. This might be nothing, but a nurse reported seeing that she overheard FEMA reps saying that they were taking over Mission Hospital in Asheville, North Carolina, and using it as a morgue. That's not the first time I've heard that. When people need a hospital, you don't need a hospital to be used as a morgue. All right, I'm looking for. Oh, come on. I'm looking for.
Bro, need to give up.
Oh, come on. I want. Okay, this thing just ditched my search. Here we go. I'm looking for a law enforcement officer, and then I'm looking for a young lady that's telling us about things as well. So let's just see here. Here, off of TikTok, Fox News is asking why we have money to send to Lebanon, but not to North Carolina. Here we go. Let's listen to this lady.
Flight of pediatric medical supplies that were brought in and are going to North Asheville. We were sitting in the private portion of the airport, and we got to overhear an awful lot. The Army pilots, the Navy pilots, hospital representatives, there was a lot of chatter. While we were there, a private jet landed and 4 FEMA representatives got off. Four people off of a private jet. Come to find out, and you're not going to hear this, so let me tell you. Come to find out, Mission Hospital was told, a private hospital, that they are going to go ahead and be the morgue center for body recovery. All of the Army Chinook helicopters you're seeing flying overhead, they are doing body recovery. FEMA said, and you can take this as a direct quote, said that they are too tied up at the border to send any more representatives. Yeah, at the border. So anyhow, I guess border control trumps whatever's going on here. So,
see what I mean? Now, I would take her word over PolitiFact and Meta any day of the week. And this is what I call treason. You're more interested, as a federal government, you are more interested in protecting known traitors in human trafficking coming across the border than you are our own citizens. You realize we have a constitution that is designed to protect our citizens and to facilitate our sovereign borders, which also means you're operating unconstitutionally with our money. That's called treason, people. It really is. It's called treason.
they told Mission Hospital they are not sending refrigerated trucks so that they can stack the bodies up. And we also overheard that whatever fatality numbers you are hearing, and this is a quote, go ahead and add a couple of zeros. So FEMA's too busy with the border. A private hospital and the Army are going to take over body recovery, and private individuals with their private helicopters and their private planes are the ones who are flying in supplies. I was at Hangar 10. I was picking up supplies. There was a stack for the Cajun Navy. There was a stack that looked like it was ASPCA. These are all being sent by private individuals. FEMA is doing nothing. Go ahead and share that.
Say what you will. I'll take her word over PolitiFact and Meta any day of the week. And that's not all. Glenn Beck was on the ground, and he actually interviewed those FEMA people, the only FEMA people in the area, that truck, and a handful of people in one folding table. And we'll come back to that. I'm looking for Mr. Police Officer here is who I'm looking for now. Oh, here we go. Let's listen to this guy. This guy has a thing or two to say.
Carolina, Eastern Tennessee, Florida, Georgia.
Come on.
By now, everyone's heard about what's going on in the western part of Carolina, Eastern Tennessee, Florida, Georgia. Donate. Please donate what you can. Try to find a nonprofit to donate to, a church, local PD. A lot of those are taking donations, sheriff's departments. I know my department is running a bunch of stuff to the western part of the state to help. Donate. But please do not donate to FEMA. They are hindering a lot of what people are trying to accomplish out in the western part of the state. FEMA doesn't understand that these Appalachian people are built differently. I'm very familiar with them. They are not going to stand by idly and have government officials tell them what to do. FEMA's playing a game of FAFO because free men don't ask for permission.
Oh.
Again, please donate and help these people out. They need us now more than ever.
Free men don't ask for permission. I would highly suggest you mull that statement over a lot for a long, long time. Free men don't ask for permission. And to be frankly honest, I'm glad I heard a law enforcement officer say that. And to be frankly honest, he said that publicly. I'm kind of glad, because I'm glad that he is not afraid of reprisal of losing his job. And if he does lose his job, his boss ought to be fired or taken out of the mountain down there and tied up to a tree, butt stark naked, and fed to the ants. But I don't think so. I think these people know what it's all about. I think this lawman and his agency know what it is to be an American lawman. But I'll believe him over, I believe, FEMA, over the FAA, over Biden, and over Kamala, and over PolitiFact, Politico, and Meta. Why? Because they're traitors. And you can like your traitors all you want to, and you can vote for that lady all you want to. You're aiding and abetting a traitor. That's all there is to it. You may not like Trump, and I understand that. But, you know, you don't vote for a known Marxist and communist. And I even got a check mark in Facebook for putting up a meme from somebody saying that she mimicked a Marxist comment. She did. She was quoting her father's book, who's a known Marxist. Who are you going to trust? You're going to trust Meta and PolitiFact? Are you out of your mind? These people are traitors.
I'm at the foothills of the western North Carolina mountains, and everybody in my area that I've talked to, including myself, who applied for the $750 assistance payment from FEMA, has been denied. Okay? Yeah. They've denied us. Okay. So here we sit. We've thrown out all of our food because we had no power for 5-6 days. Some still are without power. Here we sit. Limited resources in the store. And they have denied our $750 resource check. So, yeah. How do you like that?
Yeah, and all of these things about FEMA and all this stuff is like that lady, like the program behind her said, oh, it's conspiracy theories. Nope. It's not conspiracy theories, people. So I don't know. I don't know if a person really needs to go any farther. I think you can Google things for yourself if you so are inclined to do so. But I do ask you the question, is there treason in the tragedy? Is there treason in the tragedy?